Good afternoon. My name is Sue, and I thought I would do a little walk down memory lane. Now, I was born in the 50s and in Framingham, Massachusetts, but I was raised in Bernardston and moved to Turner's Falls in 1975 and basically stayed there the whole time. The town was very different. I like to go over the different businesses that I remember, some funny stories attached to what had happened, and so go from there. I'd love to hear your comments. The first thing is that when I moved to town, my son was only 2 years old. He grew up, graduated from Turner's Falls High School, and went on to work for the Montague Police. The funny story is that he was a skateboarder, and the Montague Police at one point thought that was the worst thing anybody could ever do. And I was told that he was going to go to jail someday. Wonder what he'd say if he saw him today. Now for the changes I remember. It's in downtown. Well, we used to start from the Gil Montague Bridge. So I'm going to tell you that the first thing you saw to the right was Higas Transportation. It was owned by Marvin Higas, and he sold it to a guy named Skip S. Scott, who ran it for many years. It now is the park. It was Cumberland Farms, but they moved it from there. To the left was the Shady Glen as it stands, and then it was Franklin Auto Supply. The police station was in the basement of the town hall, and just down the street you had Unity Park. That was a very different place. It had a wading pool, not a water park. And then you would go down 2nd Street, where you would see Warbles Package Store, and across the street you would see a way station that was there for years until it was torn down to make a parking lot. Gone are the many trees, all torn down for the improvement of the town. Brick sidewalks, designed to make everything young and beautiful. This is a huge debate and one that the jury is still out on. Where the Creamy is now was the Crocker Bank, and next door was the camera store. When you reached the 3rd Street, you would be met with the Renaissance community. At this time, Michael Metallica, or Rapunzel as he would later be known, was very popular and influential. One day it is said that he parked 27 Rolls Royces in the street to show how much he had. Also, he opened a Creamy one day, and there was a story. The story is that it was getting very hot out, and it was Friday, and they did not turn the electricity on. And so they received a delivery of milk or cream and had no electricity over the entire weekend. Opened the Creamy on Monday, and 2 people were hospitalized. Across the street was the Mulberry Hotel. This is going a little downhill and later became the location of our cab that I owned, Montague Taxi. One day on a Sunday, one of my workers came to my house and said he was going to have to work from our home, as a man named Singing something or another had 4 cigarettes going in his room, and he had caught the house the hotel on fire. It was burned pretty badly, and it was out for a while. We had a 5-foot hole in our office floor. At one point, we were very busy as we were downtown, and we had many visits from the police picking up people that were drunk or in trouble or whatever. But they had one thing that they used to do, and they used to park a cruiser down by the Shady Glen and one down where Food City is now. And they used to time a guy that would run. They used to swear that this man, Danny, I don't know his last name, could beat the world's record. They used to swear it. But from that point on in Avenue A, it was not a good place. It was before Power Town Apartments. It was the fireside, which was a real dive, and the American house, where they have apartments now. But see, we used to take people in our cab, and one of our regulars was a lady who was blind. It seems that she used to be a bartender at the American house, and one day she had surgery. Well, one of the guys that worked with her lost his temper and slapped her across the face, blinding her for the rest of her life. He felt so bad that he gave her a home to live in his home. It wasn't a bad house, but she had some little quirks. And one day, she called the fire department to say the house was on fire. Now, they knew that there was a couple of people in there that had some real problems. And so they came right down and walked in just to find her sitting comfortably on her living room chair. They said, "You said your house is on fire." She says, "Yes. Once you light the wood stove, there will be a fire." Out of courtesy, they did light the fire for her. Now, at this time, railroad salvage was not railroad salvage, it was rock deals. The Polish co-op was located on the patch and eventually moved to 4th Street, which is now the Survival Center. Scotty's was known as NATO's, and when the gas station on 3rd Street was a small house with a man we called Smiley. He worked usually by himself most days. Across the street from that was another filling station that is now a parking lot. Housing had not come to town, and living conditions were bad at many locations. We had an apartment that was located at the corner of 2nd L Street on the 3rd floor, where the building was actually bowing out. It was really, bad. We had to climb stairs. I broke my hand actually going up the stairs. They now have 2 houses built for Habitat for Humanity. But I have to tell you, it was the most haunted house we ever lived in, I've ever been in, and I do ghost hunts. There was a little boy that wore rolled-up dungarees and a striped shirt, reminding me of what Opie on Andy Griffith wore. He appeared to me several times, but we didn't move until my husband actually saw him. Now, one more story that's interesting is that most of the schools had closed in town, and now you went to Hillcrest, Sheffield. They'd combined things. The Patch was now Head Start. Central Street was daycare. And Miller's Falls had become senior housing. So I had a friend who was in her 90s and had collected many memorabilia through the years in the town. She told me a story that I thought was very interesting. School Street in Montague Center is where they built the first school after they went from the one-room schoolhouse. It became too small in the late 50s, early 60s, and they built a new one, which is now condominiums. Well, one day, the school that had been abandoned for the new one burned. It was ruled arson, and nobody ever got charged with it. Years go by, and a lady brought in some pictures. Now, these are pictures of things that happened in Montague Center all over the place. And she was going through them, and voila, there was the picture of 2 guys setting the school on fire. Now, there's 3 because somebody was holding the camera. She knew who they were, said they were all alive, and they were well known around town, and she would not tell me who it is. But somebody's walking around free. So all in all, I love the town, I love the people, and I have enjoyed telling my stories. Please leave any memories you have in the comments below.